All right. Welcome, Sonder fam. It's so lovely to see everyone here in the chat. Just to be clear, I can't actually see any of you. I only see the things you're typing in the chat. I can't hear any of you. I'm the only one that you're going to be able to hear tonight. And I'm so happy that you're here with us and with me tonight in the chat, kind of helping keep an eye on that and answer questions, is the fabulous Jen O. She is keeping an eye and asking some questions, popping on and giving a little wave there. We were talking about like, what day is this? Like, what time is it? What day is it? What's going on? It's that kind of weird time space between Christmas and New Year's where everything is kind of confusing and not sure. So yes, so it is Saturday night. We are going to do a monthly setup tonight. I think some of you may have been on the call this morning to do the weekly setup. That is fabulous. And then tomorrow morning, I think there's a monthly setup in the morning, and then tomorrow evening I will be back with you to do a weekly setup. And then we have weekly setup Monday morning, monthly setup Monday night. So we've got lots of these setups here for you. Denise says this is her start of her 4th year here with Silk and Sonder. Congratulations. Happy Sonderversary. Is this anybody else's Sonderversary? Did you start maybe in January was your first month and maybe you've been with us for a year now or longer, 5 years for Nathania? Welcome. Congratulations. Kate, start of her 3rd year. I love Denise says I use my Christmas money every year. Sarah's 2 years. Yeah, lots of oh, that's fabulous. I love it. 2 years, 4 years, 3 years, lots of folks here celebrating their Sonderversary. We're so happy that you're spending time with us. And we know sometimes that folks will step away for a little while. Maybe it's a financial thing, maybe it's a time thing, right? But then we're here for you when you come back. So we have lots of folks saying I stepped away for like 6 months, but I'm so glad to be back. It really helps me, kind of get in touch with kind of what I need, helps me set up my week, helps me go through these journaling prompts. It's fun to have the themes each month. Yeah, Annie's saying she stepped away for 18 months and so happy to be back. Yeah, and that's absolutely fine, right? This really is here for you to take or leave, to do with as you need, just like these socials, right? You come to these socials, you spend time. Either some people like to hang out in the chat and chat with their friends and they take notes for how they're going to fill things out. Some people are totally nose in the journal, working on those pages. Some people do a little mix of both. As I mentioned, we have several different socials. You can always come to as many as you would like because this is your time. This is your time to work on your journal, to kind of think about the theme going forward. So never feel like there's a right or a wrong way to do this. This is however you do this, is the right way, right? So some housekeeping tips really quickly. Make sure you set that chat to everyone. If you don't, the only people who read what you write are myself and Jen. Which if we're the only ones you want to see what you write, that's absolutely fine. But I know a lot of times we're wanting to talk with our Sonder fam. And Zoom on an iPad or an iPhone has an obnoxious tendency to keep flipping back to the host and panelist. So make sure you switch that, make sure that little blue box says everyone, right? I did want to mention that Meha, our fabulous founder, is going to be doing a New Year Real You, your 2026 Glow Up exclusive event. That's going to be on January 15th. So not right at the beginning of the new year. She's going to give you a little time to settle in there. And she's going to be spending an hour with you. It starts at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Jen's popping the registration link in there. Just keep in mind there is a small fee for that one. It is an exclusive event. It's going to have she's going to be talking about habits and rituals and routines. She'll be talking about some exercises from the Elevate Planner, but that's okay if you don't have that one. No worries. There'll probably be some handouts for you. So that's a fun one there to if you want to sign up and you're available. And if you're not available, but you sign up for a paid event, you will get a link to a recording for that event that you can watch later. So just so you know, if you're not able to attend live, totally understand. And then a few other community guidelines here. First of all, just make sure that you're kind and courteous to both yourself and others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy here. No hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to ask a few questions about pins or stickers or those kinds of things. But the best place to ask those kinds of questions, honestly, is in our Sonder Club app. So those are a good place to do that. Any of those customer care inquiries, go to our headquarters team, hello@silkensonder.com. Jen and I do not have access to your account, so we can't look up if there's anything, if we need to check something for billing or anything like that. So those all go to hello@silkensonder.com. Just keep in mind that they are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. They are probably off for holidays, that kind of thing. So just a little patience to get them to respond back. And then ultimately, these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. But ultimately, you're responsible for your own emotions, well being, and decisions. So, if there's ever anything that we're working on that just isn't your jam and you want to do something else in your journal, or you want to do whatever else, right? Maybe just color on maybe you got a fun coloring book for the holidays, feel free to do what you need to do, right? Maybe the music I play isn't your jam, you can mute that. Maybe my voice isn't your jam, you can mute me. We have closed captioning enabled. So again, this is your time to do with as you need. And we are getting ready to roll into January. I know for a lot of folks really like that New Year's energy. It's a fun time. A lot of people like to set resolutions. A lot of people like that fresh start. I'll be honest, for me, I don't do New Year type things until the spring. To me, the spring is when things are a little more new, ready kind of for that energy. I feel like right now we're still wintering. I mean, we just had the solstice last week. So I'm still kind of in wintering mode. So I kind of experiment, do a little experimenting with different things, maybe seeing if I maybe want to use my social media a little less, or just kind of experimenting with different habits, but not necessarily gung ho jumping in. But some people love it, right? Some people love to jump in and go for it. So it is for you, right? January is the month for dreaming, and this is a new year, a new beginning. We know things will change. We know that change is just a fact of life. So we're here to kind of make sure that we're prepared and we're ready to be resilient and to dive into that change, right? So our theme for the month of January is alignment, which I think is a lovely theme to really kind of think about. It's been very fun with the theme of renewal in December, kind of this idea of how are we going to feel renewed. And now we're going to talk about how we can be aligned, our habits, our values, those different kinds of things, right? So getting ready to jump into that theme. And if you haven't had a chance yet, Meha, our founder, always writes a lovely little letter to us every month to talk a little bit about what she was thinking when she came up with that theme, what it means to her. And I think a few things that kind of popped out to me were really this idea of now that the rush of the holidays is past, the world maybe feels a little bit quieter. And so it gives us permission to pause, to breathe, and to come back to ourselves, right? And I know a lot of folks are talking in the chat about their word of the year. And so that's super fun. And so Annie's saying word of the year for 2026 is align. So this theme is beyond perfect. I love it. Lovely. And then Meha also says that alignment isn't about having it all figured out, right? It's that process of figuring it out, and alignment begins with awareness. And I think that's one of the great things about Silk and Sonder is it really helps us kind of be more aware of our habits and how we're feeling and how we're showing up for the world. So I think it's a great theme to kind of dive into. But before we dive too deeply into the theme, I did want to point out that there is page 3. Often we have the definition page there and we have you kind of talk about the definition, but this month we have our yearly reflection. So I am going to give you a little bit of time to do some reflecting on your year. Obviously, this is the kind of thing that can take a much longer time. And I always like to tell people these socials really are kind of a jumping off point, just a way for you to kind of get an idea of how you would fill these out, give you some examples, let you kind of take a look at some of these things. So if you don't get it all done, we do have an hour and 15 minutes tonight for the monthly setup, but it goes by really fast with all these activities, I know. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of time to reflect, thinking back to where you were at the beginning of last year. If you have your journals with you, if you have kind of your stack of Silk and Sonder from the year, it's a good time to maybe kind of flip through those and take a look and see Rosebud Thorn activity is always good to take a look at. And think about where were you this time last year, right? Were you hoping to accomplish something? How did you grow? Thinking about experiences, achievements, and memories from this past year. So maybe you want to look at those past journals. Maybe you want to go through your camera roll on your phone. Maybe you want to look through your calendar. And you can change any of these categories to better fit your year and your experiences, right? So, other categories that you might want instead of things I achieved, people I met, places I went, and books I read, maybe you want to change it up to something like habits I cultivated or habits I released, moments of simple pleasure, times I stepped outside of my comfort zone, challenges I overcame, moments of bravery, lessons I learned, maybe favorite discoveries. Maybe you discovered some new music, listened to some new podcasts, maybe made some new recipes, went to some new stores or coffee shops or restaurants, those kinds of things. Maybe you want to think about the best meal that you had, maybe some self-care wins that happened during the year, or maybe unplugged moments, maybe moments that you were really able to be present that you want to reflect on. So I'm going to play just a very brief little bit of song to get you to kind of prime the pump here as you're doing your yearly reflections. Again, remember, you don't have to get everything done tonight. You can kind of just do a little reflecting, do some jotting down. And so I'll be quiet. I'll play a little bit of music. I'll let you work on this, and then we'll check back in and keep moving on. Right. I know that was just a short little bit of time, and I see lots of folks sharing lots of great things that they accomplished this year. And also sharing sometimes things that you accomplish, they do not have to be huge, life-changing things. Sometimes it's maybe doing some work to help get your health in balance. So getting that blood sugar under control, checking on some different things. Maybe folks who have migraines have been working on doing some things to get that under control. Maybe it's not that you made progress, but you didn't lose ground. Maybe you held steady in one area, right? That can be really important too. I know sometimes when you're trying to do debt reduction and you think like, oh my gosh, I've barely chipped away at this at all, but you kind of flip that around a little bit and think, well, but I didn't add any more, right? I didn't increase the debt. I kept that constant. I did do a little bit of chipping away. And yeah, Taylor's, those small steps count. Those little tiny things. Maybe you change some of your habits. You're going to bed a little bit earlier. You're not hitting the snooze 10 times before you get up in the morning. You're being really good about washing your face every night before you go to bed. um, all those things count, right? Don't discount them and think they have to be some huge grand thing that happened, right? Really just, again, that self-awareness, knowing where you are, looking to see kind of what has happened, maybe the learning that you had. Yeah, Jen's saying even backward steps count, learning as we go. So you're not the same person that you were this time last year. You've changed. And so really kind of think about how you've changed. If you've been coming to socials regularly, if you're posting in Sonder Club, if you're doing a couple pages in your journal, all of those things are great things to really kind of give yourself credit for, right? So again, you can work on this more later, right? It may be the kind of thing where things will pop into your mind throughout the week of things that you want to reflect on that you were able to accomplish. So our agenda for tonight, we are going to do the little monthly acrostic poem. It's just a way for us to start to dig into that theme. I'll give you some ideas of other things you can do. We're going to reflect on December. We're going to set our January intentions. We are going to work on our setting up our mood tracker, and we are going to work on setting up our habit tracker. So if you've been with me for a while, you know I always use these two little cartoons to illustrate a couple of points. The first one says there's room for you here just as you are. We're here to celebrate success. We're here to cheer you on. We love to hear about the good things. And we know that life isn't always a series of ups, right? Sometimes there's the downs. Folks get sick. I'm battling a cold right now. I don't feel too bad about it considering I haven't been sick since 2020, February. And I've never, knock on wood, I've never actually gotten COVID. I know I'm kind of like a unicorn. But a little bit of a cold right now, right? So sometimes there's that piece. Sometimes we have job issues. Sometimes we have family issues, right? So we're here for all those, the good, the bad, all of that, here to share. And then the other one says the way you feel matters and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy, right? So nobody can tell you, oh, you shouldn't be mad about that or you should be happy about this, right? Our feelings are just our feelings and that's how they are. And we're here to share them. Um, so just know that you can kind of share whatever's going on. And I think it's nice sometimes to see that other people are sometimes going through similar things or have gone through something similar and can offer some advice. So that's always a little nice. So we do not have the acrostic poem printed in this month's journal. Sometimes we do, but this is not one of those months. So you're going to find a blank space in your journal, a blank page. Some people like to use page 1 where it says notes and there's the little lines. You can write that down there. You can use sticky notes. You can use the back page. Find a poem page, find a little scrap piece of paper somewhere, wherever you would like to do that. And you're going to come up with 9 words or phrases that you think of when you think of the word alignment, and then create an acrostic poem using that word, drawing upon that list. So you could do sentences, words, sets of words for each line, kind of whatever works. Again, this is really just to get you thinking about what does alignment mean for me and what do I think it's going to mean for me as I go forward in this month. So you can just kind of write something out. Looks a little bit like this. So Gemini, the AI little bot, I asked it to kind of feed to give me something that would go with alignment and kind of also tie in with the Silk and Sonder journal. So it said to acknowledge the friction where my habits meet my hopes, listen to the quiet whispers of my intuition over the loud demands of the world, investigate the why behind any resistance. That is where the growth hides. Ground myself in the present, but keep my eyes on the person I am becoming. Notice when I am performing for others instead of living for myself. Maintain the discipline to say no to things that no longer serve me. Embrace the discomfort of shedding old versions of myself. Navigate my schedule with intention, not just out of habit. And trust that when I am true to myself, the right path unfolds. So there's also some synonyms if alignment is not quite your favorite word. There's other kinds of words. I'll be honest, it was kind of hard to find synonyms because a lot of the things around alignment, excuse me, are technical, like technical aligning kind of things. So not so much the mental kinds of things. I also kind of found some other words like awake, listening, introspective, genuine, noticing, mindful, empathetic, nurturing, and transparent for alignment for a little one word acrostic poem. You could also write an acrostic poem for the word January for the month. Here's an example of what that could look like. And then if an acrostic poem isn't your jam, some people don't like acrostic poems or it just doesn't resonate with them to work on it. Maybe you write a letter saying goodbye to December and hello to January. Or maybe you write a big letter saying goodbye to 2025, hello to 2026. Or maybe you just want to make a word cloud for the month. Come up with some different words that you want to kind of pop in, make a little word cloud for the month of January. So different ideas for things to do. I'll cycle through those pages. Feel free to share anything. Yeah, Jen O is saying, I think car tires when I hear alignment. Yeah, I do too. So again, kind of think of how you're going to approach that word as it relates to us in the coming month. And I will play a little bit of music, let you work on this as you dig into the theme of alignment, and then we'll check back in. Fabulous job to our acrostic artists. I think somebody said that all these really awesome ideas for it can be just one word or a couple of words. We had some really, really nice, really thoughtful poems. And if you feel so inclined, sharing these in Sonder Club, I think is really helpful. And again, this is really just taking that moment to just kind of settle in and think about this new theme, think about what it means, revisit your acrostic poem like at least once a week or even on a daily basis, right? Write it on your mirror in the bathroom so you can kind of see what are these words, what are these feelings, what is this, what are these thoughts that you want to bring into the month as you're going in. So thank you all so much for sharing in the chat. It is lovely to see all the fun things that you think of when you think of this idea of alignment for January. So let's dive into our December reflections, which are on page. You think I would have my pages on here? It is on page 8. Can't see. Page 8. Page 8, we have our December reflections. We always like to spend just a few moments reflecting back on the previous month, this month that is ending, things that are the wins, maybe some challenges that we've had, some favorite moments. Sometimes our favorite moments are the same thing as our wins. Sometimes we have something that actually fits into all three categories. It's a win, a challenge, and a favorite moment. So that can happen as well. And then that bottom little box where we really think about what do we want to start, stop, and continue. So after we really kind of reflect back on this month, we can think, okay, what do I want to start in the month of January? What do I want to stop? And what do I want to continue doing? So again, those wins are something, excuse me, maybe that made you smile, made you happy, something, an accomplishment. I like to, if I've got some knitting projects done, I like to write that in there. Those challenges are something that didn't go right, something out of your control, maybe a stumbling block or a frustration. And then the favorite moments are just those things that were really fun. You could go back into your rosebud thorns from last month in the weekly spread to kind of take a look. Maybe you want to use your phone to review your calendar or your photos from the last month. That's always really helpful. And then that start, stop, and continue. Things we want to start are things maybe that aren't being done, but you want to do. Things that you want to begin doing to maybe get better results, things that are worth trying or experimenting with. Like I told you, I'm going to kind of see January as kind of an experimental month to kind of see how different habits impact things. Things you want to stop are things that aren't working, things that aren't helping, things that are impeding your progress. Maybe they're not practical, they're not delivering the results, they're things you don't like, or things that no longer serve you. A lot of times we get stuck in doing things just because that's what we've always done and they don't actually serve us anymore, so we can stop. And we want to continue those things that are working well, things we want to keep, things we want to continue to see if they're worthwhile, things maybe that you like or you need. So here's some examples of those start, stop, and continue. Maybe you want to start walking more, doing a 5K prep, getting ready for that. Maybe you want to stop wasting time on your phone. I know that's always a big one for a lot of us. Maybe you want to continue your Silk and Sonder practice, coming to socials, working in your journal daily. You want to start simple and small steps forward, stop procrastinating and delaying things, continue honest expectations and realistic changes. Maybe you want to start signing up for some classes, running more, tracking maybe their food. Maybe you want to stop watching TV or movies, stop going into the kitchen to snack, stop going to bed late, continue working on me, work in my weekly plan, getting better on going to bed at time, start exercising with no excuses allowed, stop getting lost in your phone, right? Again, we're all, yeah, Adrian's like, I feel attacked. No, we're not attacking. But yeah, never stop snacking. Getting lost in your phone is always an issue, and maybe continue writing things down. What gets measured gets done. And I really like that one. So I will be quiet. I will play a little bit of music. Let us know if you want to, your wins, challenges, favorite moments, your start, stop, and continue. And then we'll check back in and keep moving on. Right. Thank you for sharing in the chat. I love Joyce is going to start the 3-2-1 plan to sleep better. 3 hours before bed, no food. 2 hours before bed, stop working. 1 hour before bed, no more screen time. I love that plan. I think I saw a lot of people resonating with that. So I think that's a great plan, something to kind of experiment with and see how that works to really kind of help with sleep. I definitely have had sleep issues before, and keeping staying off the phone a few hours before bed is definitely helpful. And if you have a hard time with that, I recommend setting it to the grayscale mode, which is very unattractive. And it does not make your brain happy. It does not kick off that dopamine like all the full color pretties do. So it can be easier to put down. So you can even set up your phone to do like a nighttime routine. So at a certain time, it will just automatically go to grayscale. You can still use it, but I promise you, it is not nearly as attractive as it is when it's in full color. So, lots of great ideas to kind of do to help with getting to sleep. So again, these are all great ideas. And, as you're thinking of those things you want to start and things you want to stop, and then as you go through the month, kind of keep track of how that's working out. Like, what does that look like? Also, think about bringing them into your intentions and your habits, which we're going to talk about here in just a moment. So, over on page 9, we have our January intentions. And notice that it says setting intentions is not making a to-do list. Excuse me. It's asking something of yourself and then giving yourself the strength to do it. So we have 6 categories for you here that you can use. You can use the theme of alignment to help you set these intentions. You can focus on one area like self love or self talk. You can use a name of a song or maybe song lyrics that inspire you. Think about how you want to feel this month in each one of these areas. Use stickers, right? We all have our lovely collection of stickers that would be very happy if we would put them on a page. Colors, images. Maybe you want to think about one thing you want to let go of and one thing you want to start doing. So I also like to point out, how they always have like January is whatever month or February is whatever month. So January is dry January. So a lot of people will do dry January where they don't drink alcohol during the month. Mental Wellness Month, National Blood Donor Month, and Self Love Month. So maybe you want to kind of think of something that would go along with that. And yeah, Jen's putting in the chat, you don't have to do all 6 areas. Maybe you want to focus on 2 or 3 intentions. You absolutely can do that. Some people also like to change up some of those categories, right? Not all those categories fit everyone or fit everyone's life, or maybe they don't fit for that month. So I put some examples of things that people have changed those to. They would maybe change something to mental health or connection, heart health, brain health, time management, home management, learning goals, creative goals, hobby goals, maybe holiday goals, or maybe it's like and wrap up holiday goals. Maybe it's family relationships, work relationships, marriage relationships, creative life, home life, personal life, hygge life. If you know the hygge, the Scandinavian concept of cozy, maybe you want to kind of do something along those lines. Here's some examples of things that folks have done. I really like the sticky notes so that you don't have to commit right away, right? You can use a little sticky note for some ideas of intentions you have in these areas. Some people like to do cute little drawings, so that's perfect. I love the little space for reflection someone left themselves for review. Again, there's some other examples of someone who changed one to learnings and they have a home and garden management. Maybe you want to do it scrapbook style, so you want to kind of snip things out. Stickers, always good here. The more less idea, more less for categories. So maybe it's more reading and less worrying, or maybe it's more reading and less scrolling, those kinds of things. Maybe you want to use one single word. This person has like self-discovery, move, friends, organize, action. It's their birthday month. Is it anybody else's birthday month in January? Happy birthday to those of you who are celebrating in January. Maybe you want to use some statements. So you'll say things like, I will, or I commit, I can, I intend, I am. Simple, just very simple statements, song titles, um, intention and action items. I like that one with the little, what looks like a little envelope, and they have their intention kind of colored in on that top, and then they have some action items in the others. So I think that's great. Again, some quotes. If you have a favorite author, you can always kind of Google, what does this person have to say about personal life intentions, and then sometimes you'll come up with some fun quotes in there. Here's some other fun ones, right? And they changed it to like ways that they want to show up for themselves in some of those different areas. So I think that's a great idea. This one on the right, ambition was the theme of the month. And so they have ambition kind of having those there. Oops. So I'm going to scroll through these. Again, lots of different ideas, lots of different ways. Remember, you do not have to fill in every box, right? Maybe you want to focus on one or two, or maybe you want to focus on one or two for the beginning of the month. And then on the 15th, maybe you want to revisit, add something, maybe take away the focus from one of the others. Again, this is kind of a fun place to experiment with how your intentions impact your actions. So I'll play a little bit of music, check back in. Feel free to share in the chat what intentions you're going to set up, and we'll keep moving on. Okay, thank you for sharing in the chat things that you're thinking of for these different areas, for these different intentions. I also see lots of folks talking about some different apps to use for fitness or for meditation. The Calm app, Balance, Apple Fitness. There's so many apps out there now you can find, and a lot of them will have maybe a week free trial or a month free trial or a discounted rate. Just remember to cancel before the free trial is over if you don't want to keep using it. But lots of different things to kind of go out and take a look at. And some other people have talked about Insight Timer. I was just kind of looking through Yoga International and Glow, just kind of seeing some of the different fun apps that folks are doing. And those can be super helpful to just kind of give you some ideas um, to help you with if you're trying to do some meditation, if you're trying to do some different types of activities. All great ideas. So thank you all for sharing in the chat how you're going to set up these intentions, what you're going to look at. And again, remember, you want to make sure that you look back at these on a regular basis. So it's always a good idea if you put this maybe in your weekly habits or in the habit tracker in the monthly wheel when we take a look at that here in just a moment. So now we're going to set up our two trackers, our mood tracker and our habit tracker. And we're going to start with our mood tracker that's there on page 10, right? And this can be really good to help us for tracking moods to understand trends and how we're feeling. Maybe we notice certain moods show up at certain times of the week. Maybe we can notice and make some shifts in our behavior and kind of what we're doing. And we can also bring tools into what works when positive moods show up for us. You do not have to use this to track your moods. I have some examples of ways that people have repurposed this for tracking other things. But I always recommend if you haven't tracked your moods, try it for a month and see how it works. And you will notice if you've been with us, we usually have two different formats. We will have the circle mood tracker and the hexagon mood tracker. So this month is hexagon. I know some people are very much team circle, and so they're not happy when it's the hexagons. Some people are very much team hexagon, and they don't like the circle. But we're just going to be flexible here. Okay, Brenda's team hexagon. So just know that we have the fun little hexagons here. So maybe you want to choose 2 or 3 negative feelings, a neutral feeling, 2 or 3 positive feelings. Maybe you want to focus all on the theme of alignment. Maybe you want to fill in every emotion that comes up that day, or fill in whatever emotion's the strongest, or fill in whatever emotion you're feeling at a specific time in the day. I know when I do the mood tracker, I will often do my mood at noon because otherwise I feel like there's too many moods throughout the day and it's hard to keep track of. So I'm just kind of like, what's my mood at noon? How is that looking? So that can be really helpful. So stickers, colored pens, doodles, just a plain old pen just to kind of track and see what that looks like. We do have the feelings wheel. If you want to pick a different word, lots of different we have the bases of fear, love, joy, surprise, sadness, and anger, but we have lots of different words there. And again, I'll cycle through so that you can see these. Also recommend taking screenshots of some of these because it can be helpful to look back at later. And we do record this, so you can always go back and watch the recording. Jen also popped the link into the chat for the feelings wheel that we talk about in one of our blog posts, so you can access it that way. And then if you want to repurpose it, some people repurpose it as an affirmation tracker. They track their anxiety levels, maybe depression levels, energy levels. They rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 6 on a certain feeling. So here's some examples of some moods that people have tracked, and also the one up in the top left where it says panic attack, heavy, frequent, moderate, light, and none. That's an anxiety tracker. So she was tracking her anxiety level for each day. So that can be really helpful, especially if you're working with a therapist. This can be really good to kind of bring in to show them kind of how things played out. Yeah, Phyllis is saying my therapist loved this tracker and it's helped me find out that I'm doing better each month. Yeah, it's exactly like tracking this and having the data is so helpful. I know we had one Sonder fam member who said that her husband made a comment one time that said, "Oh, you're always angry or you're always upset." And she's like, "No, I'm not. Look at my mood tracker. You can see here I was happy and here I was relaxed and here I was this. And so she really had like the data there to really be able to kind of show that. And I know sometimes it's really easy for us to kind of go to the extreme and think, I'm always this or I'm always that. And when we start to track it, we realize that's not really the case, right? It really can look very, very different. So having this data in front of us can be very, very helpful as we're going through. And the one on the bottom left, tracking emotions and energy. So three different emotions and then energy levels, which I think can also kind of, you can kind of look at that correlation and see how that looks for the month. Here's some other different examples of things. The one up in the top left, they have lots of different words for each one, right? So that's kind of a fun way to do it. And you can see they colored in several of the different feelings, right, or the moods, kind of keeping track of that. One person used stickers as their key instead of coloring. Some people use it for a food tracker. Oh, Michelle says the middle left is hers. Well, thank you for sharing. Again, this doesn't have to be super complicated, right? It can be very basic stickers or just one color that you're coloring in. I know Andrea mentioned she tracks her blood sugar in this area. So another really good thing to kind of track on that. Workouts, right? Keeping track of different types of workouts that you do. A rate the day, different ways to kind of rate how your day was on a scale of fantastic to terrible, or a tough day, a great day. A book tracker, keeping track of which book that you have been reading. There's one that has the fasting blood glucose levels, that activity tracker. So all of those are really great examples of things that you can use to kind of keep track. So let us know what you're going to use the mood tracker for. And I will be super honest. I usually set up my mood tracker all lovely and I spend a lot of time on it. And then I track maybe the first 10 days and then I kind of forget. So if you're like me, don't feel bad. It happens. But again, it's that kind of idea of what data do you want for the month of January. Maybe you're trying out a new habit and you want to track that. So play a little bit of music. Let us know what you're going to use this mood tracker for, and then we'll check back in. All right. So thank you for sharing in the chat how you're going to use this. A lot of different, again, different ideas for different ways, different things that you want to track. I also appreciated, Michelle said her mood seems to always be in the meh category, right? So some people will have meh, M-E-H, or, kind of that whatever category. And, that's good data too, right? So if that seems to be where your mood is kind of falling and you don't really maybe want to stay in that meh category, what can you do to maybe bump that up into some of the other more positive moods? Kind of like what kinds of things can you do and what will that look like? So, thank you for sharing in the chat kind of how you're going to use that and what that looks like. And again, all of these came from real life Sonder fam members, right? So this is not AI, this is HI, this is the human intelligence, brilliance, creativity that we have here in Sonder Club. So love seeing the sharing, and you never know who you might inspire with sharing some of those trackers. So our habit tracker on page 11. So these really are those habits that you want to do on a daily basis, or maybe a Monday through Friday basis. Maybe the weekends are a little bit different, but really it's that very regular. These are the things you want to dive into for the month. So maybe you want to start doing some new habits. I don't recommend trying to start 6 new habits in the month. That's not a good plan. Maybe one new habit that you want to start. Maybe it's some things you want to stop doing. So you want to maybe stop going through the drive-through on the way home, or stop biting your nails, right? Those kinds of things. And then continue. Maybe there's some habits that are bringing value. If you had a great habit tracker last month, bring those habits over. You don't have to come up with brand new stuff each month. If they're working well for you, you want to keep tracking them. You want that data to kind of show that this is making a difference. This is a great place to do that. Bring those over. Maybe you want to use alignment as your focus. Maybe you want to pick a theme. Maybe you want to continue some habits from last month. Maybe you want to find that balance, those habits that are trickier to do versus the ones that are easier. And you do not have to fill in every line. Right. Yeah. And Jen is saying go check that start, stop, and continue space on page 8 for some inspiration for some habits maybe that you want to do for this month. So maybe you want to focus on one line. Maybe you want to have one habit that you want to do. Here's some examples of things that folks have done. You can see the one up in the top right. She has 3 things, right? Brush her teeth 2 times a day, make her bed, and do a daily affirmation, and then colored in those other ones. Beautiful, right? Perfect. One person, when they were tracking, they had a migraine for several days. So they just wrote migraine over those days and they're like, okay, I didn't do my habits because I had a migraine or I was sick. That kind of giving yourself some grace. Maybe you want to journal for 5 or more minutes, do the daily ritual in bed by a certain time, take your meds, pick up around the house, right? Kind of tidy things up for 5 minutes, listen to music or a podcast, drink your 64 ounces of liquids, um, go outside, play the Wordle, mindfulness, brain exercise, compliment someone. I love that idea. Journal prompt, filling out your journal. Maybe it's coming to a social or watching a social recording or watching part of it. Here's some other examples of things that folks have done. Beautiful little mandala. She colors in all the little pieces after she does the drawing. It looks so pretty. Some people like to highlight around the weekends so that they can see. So you can see this one on the right. They've drawn around the weekends so that they can see, is there a difference on the weekdays versus the weekends, right? Like what does that look like? Maybe you have a lot of people have water goals, right? I see a lot of us kind of talking about this idea of drinking more water, or maybe thinking about, does this habit still serve me, or am I blindly following an old routine? People will ask, what's the difference between this monthly habit wheel and the weekly habits and activities at the bottom of that page? These monthlies really are things you want to track each day. Weeklies sometimes are very specific to the week, or things you only want to track a few times a week, or maybe for just that single week in the month. And then I have a little quote here from the Atomic Habits book by James Clear. If you haven't had a chance to read that, highly recommend. It's a really good book talking about habits. But he really talks about, if you want to predict where you'll end up in life, All you have to do is follow that curve of tiny gains or tiny losses and see how your daily choices will compound 10 or 20 years down the line. So this is all those daily choices that you want to see making a difference, right? Here's some other fun examples of things that folks have done, some very pretty ones, lots of different coloring if you like to do that. If you want to schedule, says 8 days to schedule on your calendar for every month. Obviously, it's not going to happen every day, but maybe this is something you want to track it when it does happen. So things like a day without using social media, or a day to learn something new, a day to declutter and organize. And then I like this. They said, remember, this isn't bingo, and a coverall isn't the only way to win. Right? So you don't have to completely fill this out or feel like you failed. This is, again, it's just some data to kind of see how these habits worked. And then notice this one at the bottom. She says, giving myself grace and moving on because it's not worth the stress. Right? Yeah, Brenda, these 8 days to schedule would be good for the bingo board. And we do have a bingo here in this month's calendar. So lovely idea. And then here's some other ideas for just different things that you could potentially do on a daily basis or could potentially put down for those habits. So feel free to share with us in the chat what you're going to put here, what habits you want to track, what this is going to look like, how you're going to set this part up. I'll cycle through these pages and then we'll check back in and we'll wrap things up. Okay, nice job thinking about what you're going to put in this habit tracker, what makes sense. And again, remember, this is just data. This is just giving you some data on whether or not you were able to do that habit for that day during that month. It's not a judgment thing. It's not a if it's blank or something that you've done something wrong. This is just, giving us some data. So I also I saw Jen was kind of popping in the links to some of our other Sonder Social events because we do have one that's going to be talking about the bingo board, giving you lots of different ideas for things to put on that bingo page. That's going to be on January 7th. It also is going to talk about the Wheel of Life page and alignment inventory. So hopefully you can come to some of those. That would be lovely. And I cannot believe, I don't know how the time always goes by so fast. We are at our hour and 15 minutes together. Hopefully, you are feeling good about diving into January, feeling like you've got these things set up. Jen is popping some more links into the chat for our YouTube page. Where we've got over 1,000 socials. Also, if you got the workbook, the annual supplement or the life workbook, we've changed the name of it a couple times, but it's basically the same. We did a lot of socials on that back in actually 2022, interestingly enough, but you can find those. There's some playlists that you can go to in the Silk and Sonder page, so you can find some different socials, so you can work on those if you got that. If you got that maybe for the holidays. So share your planners with us in Sonder Club. You might see one of your examples pop up in one of our socials. Amanda, it's okay if you didn't open your journal. Hopefully you were taking some notes and you've got some good ideas. We have other monthly setups. We've got a monthly setup tomorrow morning. We've got a monthly setup Monday night. You can always come to those. You can always watch the recordings later. Give yourself, it's fun to hang out in the chat, right? Absolutely. So, and then don't forget, if you want to sign up for the fun social with Meha, the new year real you, your 2026 glow up. So it was so lovely to spend some time with you this evening. I hope you are enjoying this kind of in between time with the holidays. Things are going well, and hopefully we will see you again at another social. So take care, everyone.